Hey, today's topic is on vitamin D, the good and the bad. I am Dr. Krishna Doniparthi along with
Dr. Nick Sidhu.
and we are doctors here at Functional Medicine of Georgia. So some quick facts about vitamins. Vitamin actually is not a vitamin. It means vital amine. It should have that E on the end. It was coined by a Polish biochemist called Casimir Funk in 1912, and you can see his picture over there. He thought all vitamins were proteins, but actually only most of them are. Most vitamins are essential. That means you gotta get them from your foods. Your body will not synthesize vitamins except for a very few, and that happens in your digestive tract if you have beneficial bacteria in your gut, what is known as the gut microbiota. And most vitamins are water soluble, but vitamins A, D, E, and K are fat soluble, and they're moved through your bodies through what's called the lymphatic system. That is the sister system to the blood system. Otherwise, the rest of them are water soluble and they move through your blood, which is mostly water.
So vitamin D, where does it come from? Well, most of it's made from the sunlight, ultraviolet light specifically, that hits our skin. But if you're wearing clothes or sunscreen, that's definitely going to inhibit the absorption. Cholesterol is also a building block, vitamin D. You can get some through foods, not much though, but you can get it through foods. In general, it does activate absorption of calcium and other minerals in the liver and digestive tract. And Dr. Doniparthi, can you tell us a little bit about the genetic mutations?
Yeah, there is a mutation for vitamin D receptors called a VDR TAQ. And there are two kinds of mutations. All genes have two what are called alleles. Those are the two parts where the coding for any kind of substance that you're trying to make in the body. And there can be either a homozygous or a heterozygous mutation. A homozygous means both of those alleles for that code for vitamin D receptor can be affected. That means you make very little vitamin D receptor. Or it could be heterozygous. That means only half of the gene is affected. And if this is affected, then what may happen is that your ability to activate vitamin D through your digestive tract is prevented or reduced greatly.
So when it comes to vitamin D, Dr. Doniparthi, what's the good news? What can you tell us?
Well, there's actually very good news. And when we look at what are we trying to prevent, well, the biggest thing we want to try to prevent is cancer. So at the top of this slide, you see at the top left, there's a serum level. And you see the numbers across, 6, 8, 10, and so on. So that's your blood level, or better known as serum level. And what it shows at number 2 in the darker blue box is that rickets, a bending of the legs, is prevented. 99% of it is prevented with just a vitamin D level of 20. That's easy to do. However, you need more in order to prevent different kinds of cancers, and that's what the rest of this slide shows. Whether it's all cancers, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and so on and so on. I'm going to show you a different slide on this. Here's one that is looking at studies around vitamin D and how many people had vitamin D levels and what did they prevent? What kind of cancers did they prevent? For instance, at the bottom, we see that 55% of colon cancers can be prevented with just a level around 35, 37, whereas breast cancer, you need a lot more. So 2/3 of breast cancers could be prevented with a vitamin D level of 60. All cancers, though, when they looked at all cancers and wanted to see what's the best levels, well, you need a level somewhere between 50 and 55 to prevent 75% of all cancers. And the way vitamin D works is has an anti-stem cell effect. That means it blocks cell proliferation, blocks cell differentiation, and it enhances the killing off or the apoptosis of cancer cells. And there's a link there to an article and reference regarding this.
And when it comes to vitamin D and viral infections, it definitely seems to help in preventing some viral infections. An example, H1N1, also known as swine flu, and other forms of influenza. The higher the levels of serum 25-hydroxy vitamin D, or the active form of vitamin D, in general, the less the incidence of upper respiratory tract infection due to common cold viruses.
And those are the two links that show that this support for vitamin D as far as viral infections. And in a different way of looking at it, they did a study and looked at vitamin D levels in individuals that didn't take any vitamin D and those who took as little as 800 units. And they saw that during the winter months that the people who didn't take any vitamin D had a much higher incidence of upper respiratory tract infections due to common colds or viruses. And that was as much as 25%, but it was less than 5% for someone who just took 800 international units a day. And in the spring, summer, and autumn, it didn't matter if you did or did not take vitamin D, your levels of infection dropped off tremendously.
Well, definitely a lot of good news there about vitamin D. Is there any bad news, anything we should be concerned about, Dr. Doniparthi?
Yeah, Dr. Sidhu, there is a little bit of bad news. It's not really that bad. Let me show you on the next slide. What this slide shows is that they measured vitamin D levels in a variety of different individuals, and then what they found is that after September, your vitamin D levels drop. And you can see here by January and February, you're at the lowest level possible, around 12 to 16 serum levels. And then as you get into the spring and summer months, your vitamin D level goes back up. So the bad news is, yeah, it can slow down, it can do several different things. One, it can slow down cell regeneration. That's great for cancer cells, but too high levels of vitamin D are also not good. It's stored in body fat because it's a fat soluble vitamin, as we mentioned before. Therefore, you got to have some body fat. You can't be too skinny, but at the same time, you can't have excess body fat. The more you have, the more is stored there, and it gets trapped and it's not usable in body fat. So the bad news is you have to supplement on a daily basis all year round. And the other vitamin that kind of works with vitamin D is vitamin K2. So you have to take both in order to have the good effects of vitamin D3. And you need about 2,000 to 5,000 units every day. Well, that's all we have about today for vitamin D. If you have any questions, please contact us at Functional Medicine of Georgia. Our email address is gethealthy@functionalmedicinega.com. This is Dr. Krishna Doniparthi.
And this is Dr. Nick Sidhu.
And thanks for listening.